BG coming to you live from the Box and Gossip vehicle. To regular viewers, fear not, we haven't quite elected to get rid of the wallpaper just yet. More of a case that I'm waiting to pick up my missus, and I'm here about half an hour early, so thought why not take the time to record a bit of a video for you guys. Now, as you can see, pretty late, pretty dark outside. As a result, the lighting quality on this video is not going to be good. Apologies in advance. You'll have to bear with me if you're interested in the content. So this video is to discuss the return of David Price, who returns on a Mac the Knife card. I believe it's this Saturday, December the 2nd, in Essex. I actually do believe, although I cannot completely confirm, that the fight will be shown live on IFL TV, which is good. You know, more and more of this free boxing on the internet is a good thing. And if you're able to check it out this Saturday, why not do that? You know, I personally am away this weekend, so I won't be able to watch it live myself. But if I was at home, certainly I'd be tuning in and watching this fight live. So without further ado, let's discuss this matchup. So David Price comes back. He's kind of coming back a bit under the radar, and he's facing Kamil Sokolowski. Now, we'll come on to the opponent in just a moment, but in terms of his return, I'm kind of pleased to see him coming back under the radar. You know, against this level of sort of journeyman opponent, there's no need to have David Price on some pay-per-view undercard. You know, David Price has disappointed in a few times in his career so far. A lot of it with David Price appears to be a little bit mental. You know, that he maybe struggles with the pressure of big fights and big occasions, and you know, for him to have a comeback under the radar, not in front of too many people, probably going to be beneficial for all involved. Now, as for the opponent, Kamil Sokolowski, if you haven't seen this guy box before, you'd be very, very much forgiven for writing him off by having a quick look at his box rack. So I am going to pull up his box rack now. Sokolowski is a 31-year-old heavyweight, 6'1". His record is 4 wins, 11 losses, 2 draws. Of his 4 wins, 1 has come by way of knockout. So 17 fights, only 4 wins, unsuccessful 11 times. You'd be forgiven for thinking this would be an easy test. But Sokolowski is one of those fighters who is a hell of a lot better than his record suggests. And believe me, if you haven't seen him before, I'm actually not joking here. So Sokolowski actually won his debut fight against Adam Makadj, who at the time was an undefeated 4-0 prospect. He then took losses, and you know, he fought at a relatively high level for his second fight. He actually went in with Dillian Whyte in his second fight. He also lost to the likes of Cass Ali, Sam Sexton, who's, as you guys know, is the current British champion, Gary Cornish. He fought Dominic Akinlade twice, dropping a draw and a points loss to Akinlade. He lost to Nathan Gorman. He lost to Consian. You know, so he kind of fought like the who's who of British and domestic level prospects and opponents. You know, Dillian Whyte at 11-0. Dominic Akinlade at 5-0, Cass Ali at 8-0, Consian at 3-0. It's around that point in his career, around 2016, that there was a change in Sokolowski's performances. In 2016, he outpointed Nuruddin Medoun, who at the time was 4-2. He then got a draw against Carl Spencer, who was 4-0. We then saw him get 2 upset wins. He upset AJ Carter. Now, AJ Carter, best known for his defeat to Daniel Dubois, but AJ Carter was a bit of a prospect when he was upset by Sokolowski. Sokolowski knocked him out cold, for what it's worth. And then Sokolowski outpointed Sean Turner, another Mac the Knife heavyweight, who was 10-0 at the time. And that was a big win. You know, Sean Turner was a guy who had a little bit of hype behind him, 10-0, and he got beat by Sokolowski. Now, subsequent to that, he's been in with Tom Little and lost on points, and he's been in with Martin Bakole, who's a very highly rated Cyclone prospect. He fought Bakole when Bakole was 8-0, and you know, Bakole is known as a huge knockout puncher, and Sokolowski was able to go the distance with him over 6 rounds. So, you know, to be fair to Sokolowski, he brings a lot more to the table than the average guy with 4 wins and 11 losses. Of the 11 losses, he's only been stopped twice. And that's factoring in that he's actually been fighting a lot of guys in and around British title level. He got stopped in his second fight by Dillian Whyte, and he got stopped back in 2016 by Nathan Gorman. But he's gone the distance against Akinlade. He's gone the distance against Castle. He's gone the distance against Sam Sexton. He's gone the distance against Gary Cornish. You know, he's gone the distance against Tom Little, gone the distance against Martin Bakole. And as I say, he's scored upsets against AJ Carter and Sean Turner. So this is a guy who, despite having the losses on his record, still has ambition. You know, he's had 2 upset wins in 2017 alone, and this is a guy who, despite having 11 losses in his record, is not there to get blown out. You know, he's very, very, very durable. Even in his second fight against Dillian Whyte, he got to the 3rd round. Against Nathan Gorman, he got to the 5th round. This is not a guy you blow out with a single punch. So it's an interesting test for David Price, this. In many ways, you could have actually bought an easier comeback opponent for him. And if you watch Sokolowski fight, if you're bothered to invest the time and actually check him out, I've seen this guy fight a couple of times. He's really decent. You know, he is a decent fighter. You know, if David Price came back against Sean Turner or you know, someone at that level, people would be like, oh, that's a big comeback fight. Well, this guy is, you know, he beat Sean Turner, and he beat him on merit for my money. So I think it's an interesting comeback fight for David Price, and it's probably not an easy knockover job. Now, realistically, will Sokolowski have enough to cause an upset here? I suspect not. I suspect not. You know, even though he absolutely iced AJ Carter in 17 ring appearances, he has only scored 1 knockout. So despite how visually impressive that performance against AJ Carter was, realistically, Sokolowski is not the biggest one-punch knockout artist out there. He's also a lot smaller than David Price, and clearly, you know, David Price, for all his faults, he's an Olympic medalist. He's a guy who's, you know, fought at British level multiple times and been successful. David Price has far superior technique to Sokolowski. Where I think the fight becomes interesting is I don't think Sokolowski is going to be one of these journeymen who is content to sit on the end of David Price's pouring jab and, you know, simply allow himself to be teed up for the long 1-2, because that's where Price is at his deadliest. Let's be honest, when Price is able to find a place for you with that jab and then bring the right hand over the top into play. I think Sokolowski's going to force the pace. I think he's going to, you know, look to time David Price's jab and then look to close the gap and close the distance down on David Price and get his own offense off. I actually think that this could be a more competitive fight than people think. You know, I don't think this is a knockover job whatsoever. And I wouldn't be surprised for 1 second if Sokolowski lands something on David Price, and I wouldn't be surprised if for 1 second if Sokolowski goes multiple rounds in this fight and makes David Price look thoroughly beatable for you know, a few rounds. I noticed in the IFL-TV interview Tyson Fury did earlier this week with Kugan Cassius, Kugan said to Tyson Fury that David Price was returning against Sokolowski, and you know, I wasn't sure if Fury was joking, but it appeared Tyson Fury actually said, like, "Ooh, I'm not sure about that as a comeback fight. Isn't he the guy who beat Sean Turner? You know, Sokolowski's already beaten he's beaten an undefeated MTK fighter. That's, you know," and part of you isn't sure if that's Tyson Fury taking the mick because he knows this guy's got 11 losses. But I think Tyson Fury actually knows his heavyweight boxing quite well. If you listen to Fury about other heavyweights, he clearly is someone who's pretty well versed in the context of today's heavyweight division, and I think he knows that Sokolowski, despite looking weak on paper, actually poses something of a threat to a guy like David Price. You know, David Price, his weaknesses and his limitations are very well established at this stage, but because of that, it's kind of easy to forget that he is, you know, a decent fighter. David Price is a proven commodity at, you know, a certain level. He's destroyed the likes of Sam Sexton. He's destroyed the likes of, was it John McDermott, Audley Harrison. You know, these guys are sort of English, British level guys. Sam Sexton's the current British champion, and David Price has sort of destroyed that level of guy. You know, he's got the technique, he's got the size, he's got the power to do some serious damage at that level. It seems to be the level above, the sort of European top 25 in the world, that fringe level where he starts to come up short. And you know, you've seen that time and time again. He's been successful at sort of British level, he's been unsuccessful when he's fought the Tony Thompsons, when he's fought the Christian Hamers, when he's fought the Erkan Teppers. At the time, all of these guys were top 15, top 20 in the world. So, you know, David Price isn't a terrible fighter. David Price is, as I say, he is a proven commodity at British level. And looking at Sokolowski's resume, despite the fact he's got a few good performances and a few upset wins, he does tend to lose when he fights the, you know, the Tom Littles, the Bacolis, the Gormans of this world. These are all sort of guys who are moving towards that English British title level. So, you know, if you're asking me for a prediction on this fight, I'm going to go with David Price. I think he is the most likely winner. But I'll tell you what, I haven't seen any odds for this fight, but if David Price is something like 1 to 100 on, and you're getting a ridiculous price on Kamil Sokolowski, it would be a fight worth considering, at least from a value betting perspective. Because Sokolowski is a guy who shouldn't be overlooked. And the other thing is, I'm not sure how many rounds this fight is for. You know, let me know in the comments section below how many rounds this is for. But that's another factor to consider, because Sokolowski has proven durability. And if he were to take Price multiple rounds, that could create an interesting dynamic in the fight, especially how big and heavy Price is with his tendency to gas. So, yeah, this is a fight that I'll, you know, as I say, I'm not able to watch it live this weekend, unfortunately, but it's a fight that I'll certainly have an eye on, and it's a fight that I'm certainly interested to see the result of. You know, David Price, he does have that power. He does have that power, and I know you can ask the question, who is the best person that David Price has knocked out? And the answer is, the best people that David Price has knocked out are, you know, those sort of British level guys, the Sam Sextons and Audley Harrisons of this world. But David Price gives the visual impression of being a huge one-punch power knockout artist, especially with that right hand. And look, Sokolowski is durable, but he isn't durable at the elite level, most likely. And you know, if Price is able to find a home for that right hand, if he's able to get his cross off and land it on Sokolowski, we could see a David Price knockout. And he does have the kind of power that means he could knock out any man in a round. So look, I may have spent 12, 13 minutes, 14, 15 minutes probably talking about this fight, and it may only go 14, 15 seconds, let alone 14, 15 minutes. Because Price does have the power to do that, and he could make me look stupid saying that this is a fight that, you know, could develop into a competitive matchup. But as I said at the start of the video, I'm sitting here in my car waiting to pick someone up, and you know, I've got nothing better to do, so why not, let's discuss it, and hopefully people enjoy the discussion. But yeah, Sokolowski, worth checking out. If he's able to get into the fight, if he's able to survive a round or two, and Price is one of these guys who's probably more deadly early on, but if he's able to weather that storm, I think he could make it interesting. He's a guy with ambition. He's a guy who will come forward. I don't think he'll just be content to sit there eating a David Price jab. He's durable, and he's far better than it looks. You know, this is a key fight for David Price. David Price is kind of at that stage of his career now where any loss will probably spell the end. A loss to a guy with 11 losses himself would pretty much definitely spell the end. And yeah, that's possibly why Tyson Fury was a bit skeptical of this fight. That's possibly why I think that this fight could be more competitive than I imagine the odds will suggest. But look, Price, you'd have to say he is a favourite. There are still big paydays out there for David Price. Price is probably never going to be a world champion. You know, that promise that people believed he showed early on in his career, you know, that's probably never going to come to fruition. But Price still has huge earning potential. You know, Price still has the ability to pick up six-figure paydays, even if it is as an opponent. And he probably cannot risk that going to waste unless he's very confident of beating this guy. And you know, the presumption is that Price even with his fragility, he still has what it takes to compete at English-British level, and that should be enough to get the job done. Let me know your thoughts on this guy. Let me know your thoughts on this fight. Are you, like me, someone who's seen Kamil Sokolowski fight before? If you are, do you agree with my analysis that he could potentially cause some issues for David Price? Are you someone who hasn't seen him and have looked him up on BoxRec and think it's a knockover job? If you are, I urge you to check him out. Let me know your comments. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Apologies again if the picture quality is even poorer than normal. And yeah, other than that, normal request, guys. If you enjoyed the content, please hit the thumbs up button. If you're new, you haven't done so before, please hit subscribe. And many thanks for tuning in. Give us a follow on Twitter at Boxing Gossip. Cheers, guys.